consistently attract soulmate clients, begin showing up on brand, monetizing on your calling. Welcome all spiritual coaches, leaders, healers, light workers, and practitioners to a show that turns you on in your business and amplifies your magnetism. I'm host, catalyst, and spiritual business coach Rosalind Fung, and I'm here to journey with you into the juicy and help you discover where the real gaps are. Ignite your mindset and soul with strategies and systems as each episode takes you to the sweet spot that activates your Soulgasmic business. Enjoy this light language activation as we begin to magnetize and monetize. Welcome, my loves. Have you ever wanted to write your own story or even your very own book about your soul mission, your journey, and how you got to where you got to? You know, my loves, the writing journey can be very overwhelming. Many of us really feel called, but we don't have any clue of where to start and how exactly to share our story that feels important. I know a lot of people that I talk to, they often feel like, well, who's going to listen to my story, or how do I share it? Is it really valuable? Is it really worthy? And if you're noticing, yeah, those are some of my questions. We are going to talk today about how to shift out of that and shift into self-belief, into knowing that your story, and not just knowing, but embodying the truth that your story matters. Somebody, and I'm going to say many people out there, need to hear your journey, need to hear the lessons you've learned, need to hear about your soul mission. And so today I'm bringing on my special guest, my friend, fellow warrior goddess, Blaise Hunter. Yes, that is actually her name. Isn't that so sexy? Blaise Hunter has created a map to help you play out the coordinates and arrive at your destination with a finished manuscript with ease. Blaise Hunter is an author, award-winning advocate, international speaker, fertility expert, founder of the Heroine movement, and CEO of Blaze Trail Inc. consulting agency. She also has an incredible podcast herself, and she is here to help people birth their goals, business ventures, books, and brands. Blaise tackles the realities of issues women face, from body image and self-esteem to motherhood and infertility. You guys, she has such a powerful story, and she's going to share this today. She pushes back on the pressures of perfectionism women face in today's world. Blaise's mission is to inspire women to love themselves and breathe their passion like fire. Can you see why I need to have her on my show? We have a lot of commonality, and Blaise, she is so incredible. She's spoken on stages in Las Vegas, New York, as well as throughout Canada and the United Kingdom. She has empowered women alongside Oprah's South African daughters and makes an impact wherever she goes. Blaise is also nominated for a 2020 Women of Inspiration Award. And I am so honored to have this incredible, gorgeous soul on our podcast. So welcome, my love. Hello, Blaise.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited for you to be here and to share your story, share your wisdom. You guys, she is so engaging. So Blaise, please, let's stop teasing the audience, and I'd love for you to share your soul mission story and how it is that you got to where you got to today.
Yeah, I think like everybody, we all have an amazing, unique story. And sometimes when we share our story, we leave really critical points out because we don't go from A to Z. There's many steps, and sometimes it's sideways and a maze and backwards and forwards. And I think it's really important to share that, like, even though sometimes like we feel like we've got a success, like we've made it to a certain level that we wanted to, we can't forget the nitty gritty mess up parts, because that was part of it. That was the learning lesson. And that's part of sharing the whole complete story, not just the highlight reel. Let's share the peaks and the valleys, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's what makes life and the story exciting. Absolutely. Having that, because it would be so boring if our story was flat, or if it was, honestly, if it was just win, 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 which isn't realistic.
No. And like I say to everybody, like everybody has that unique story, and it is something for you to tell to unlock your potential, your purpose, your healing, your destiny, but also unlock it for somebody else that may be struggling through the same type of scenario you've been through. So you're going to go through it and get the healing, to get the keys to unlock your shackles, to free other people from the mental prison or whatever prison they're feeling in their life, right?
Exactly. So tell us what some of your shackles were and what some of your hardships were, because I really, you and I got to know each other few months back, and I think we were jamming. We scheduled in for like a half-hour connection call, and I think we ended up chatting for like 2 hours because we had so much in common. And I just thought, gosh, like, you have such a powerful story that so many people need to hear, because I know so many people will be able to resonate.
Absolutely. So yeah, it really started basically me realizing that I was a girl that hated herself her entire life. And I didn't know that I was contributing to the war and being in battle with myself and attacking myself and contributing to the self-hatred. And I was an emotional cutter. And it took to a pinnacle moment in my life when I had a rare autoimmune disease that I developed in my 20s. And I went to a therapist because I was trying everything medically and nothing was working. And she sat me down and she just said, "Oh, well, you have an autoimmune disease where your body attacks itself." And I said, "Yes." And she's like, "Do you think there's a link with that disease and the fact that you hate yourself so much and that you attack yourself every day with your thoughts?" And it was just like this massive light bulb going off that no one ever made that link and connection before. That are my thoughts causing my body now to attack itself? Are they listening to each other? And then I'm part of the war. So that moment, I decided to take myself out of the war and stop participating in the battle, but actually start the healing process, start starving the disease by injecting self-love, not self-hatred. And that was a huge moment and a step for me to end that self-hatred and poor self-esteem and body image and lack of self-worth and let people abuse me because I didn't know my worth and take a stance on it. And then it transitioned into being a mother as well, because at that point I had a baby, and then at 3 years old, so it was about 2 years after that initial encounter with that therapist, that I was just staring at my daughter one day, and she was 3 years old, and thinking, oh, she's going to be going to school soon, and all these envisions of her going to school and being bullied and picked on, or the pressure to be thin and the dieting, and teenagers are dealing with so many pressures and depression and cutting themselves and suicides. And I just had this whole thought process, like, how am I going to get my daughter to not be 12 years old and be anorexic? And it just, another light bulb was like, poof, she will model her mom. So if I'm standing in the mirror right now thinking I'm fat, I need to diet, and hating on myself and refusing to wear a bikini and just covering myself and masking everything about my body and being ashamed of it, my daughter is going to do what I do. So I need to practice what I preach and make myself worthy and confident and own who I am, and my body doesn't dictate my worth. So then my daughter can rise up as a world shaker and a change maker, right? Absolutely. And so it really was like a two-part process there of really understanding about the importance of self-love and modeling that for our young. We have a responsibility as mothers to change our thoughts, to change our words, to own who we are, not just silently in the mirror we think, oh, my kids don't notice. They know, they pick up on that, and they become that. So we have a responsibility to change how we actually feel about ourselves, to model it for our children, and not just for our daughters. Like, we're showing our sons how to treat women. If we're disrespecting ourselves, they learn to disrespect women in their life because they're modeling that from their biggest role model, their parents, right?
Absolutely.
And so that was my first step to really having self-love and ending the war within myself. But then I was dealt a really big blow. I was dealt with a miscarriage after my daughter was born, and it shattered me. And it opened up another portal of shame and self-hatred and not feeling good enough and that low self-esteem, because women, we blame ourselves. So I blame myself for my miscarriage. And I got really depressed and lonely and just felt that isolation, that grieving in silence. No one really talks about that side of infertility, of the loss, of how you grieve that, even though you never physically had the baby outside of you. It was in you. And I just felt like I had no purpose. I was still battling my disease, and that was part of the reason for the miscarriage. So I just was so in such a dark place that I felt like I had no more purpose and that I was dying. And I have a very clear moment where it was like a divine moment of time that was supposed to line up for me, where I was feeling this depressiveness. And I was on Facebook one day, and I just saw an ad, like a woman minister coming to Edmonton. I was living 3 hours from Edmonton, and I just felt drawn to this post, and I opened it, and it was like this healing minister from Texas was going to be in Edmonton. And I didn't know her, but I thought I recognized her name. And so I Googled her, and sure enough, I did have a connection to this lady's name. Her parents were healing ministers that traveled from the States to Canada 30 years ago and actually came to my church in Saskatchewan. And they had a deep impact on me, where 30 years later, I still remember them. I still remember that moment they came to that church. I felt connected. And so they have passed on. Their daughter's taken over this ministry, and she was coming to Canada in just a couple weeks to Edmonton, where I could show up and see this woman, and I was drawn to go. I was too ill at the time with the disease and with the depression, so I couldn't even drive. So I made my mom come get me and pick me up and take me to the service. And I remember I just said a prayer inside my heart and just said, God, I need a sign tonight that I'm not going to die. I need a sign that there's some purpose for my life still, and things are going to work out for me. I don't care what that sign is, but I need a sign tonight. And that was it. I just shut up, and we drove to the service. We get there, and I lead my mom all the way to the front row. And my mom's like, I don't do front rows. And I'm like, I didn't come all the way here for the back. So my mom actually sat down beside me in the front row. And the service began, and the lady started speaking. I've never met this woman, but I got so loud in my head, like, God, I need my sign, I need my sign. I'm not even listening to the woman, actually, like, who I've come to see. I'm so loud, and I'm saying, God, I swear to God, I will not leave here until I get my sign. I will stay in this chair all night, but I need my sign tonight that I'm not going to die, that there's purpose for me. Like, amongst all this pain and all this heartbreak and all these challenges, like, what is my purpose? And she's speaking, and all of a sudden she goes, hang on, I need to stop the whole entire service. someone's drawing on me so much that I can't even continue. And she comes right over to me and she says, God hears your cry. He sees your pain. The tears will end, joy will come, and you will write a book about it. And I just sat there in utter silence and awe, like, okay, that's my son.
I am literally, as you're sharing this, and I heard your story the first time we connected, and this brings me so much tears just to hear the power. Like, this is one of the most powerful stories, and I think just how when we really we surrender and we really put our faith into a higher power, whoever that is, for ourselves, and we ask for a sign. And I want to highlight that when we ask for a sign, we will receive it, and we stay open to it. And Blaise, you are just, this story touches me so much, and how you have demonstrated that deep within, even though there was a part of you that wanted to not be around anymore, that there was something greater beyond you, and there was a part of you that knew that. And holy shit, like,
yeah,
to hear this and to be in the presence of really listening to your story just really touches me so deeply. And I know that those of you who are listening right now, can you feel Blaise's desperation? Can you on some level resonate? Because I know I have hated myself for years as well, beating myself up for how I look, for not having that perfect body, for not being smart enough, not being pretty enough, not feeling worthy enough. And I know that so many women particularly can relate and resonate so deeply with this. And so thank you for sharing this part. We are going to go into commercial, and then when we come back, I'm going to have Blaise share just what happened after this powerful moment and how she is doing what she's doing today. So I invite you to really reflect on your own scripts for your journey during this commercial.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio, IOM FM. Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
When you wake up in the morning, are you excited for the new day? Are you passionate about your work? Are your relationships fulfilling? And finally, are you happy? I'm Mia Voce, your host and guide to the power of 5. Harness the forces of the universe and unleash your powers within. Join me each Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, here on OMTimes Radio. And remember, anything is possible. You only just have to believe.
A social distancing tip.
Putting distance between yourself and others is critical to slowing the spread of coronavirus. So here are ways to stay in contact without the physical contact part. Call, send a text, set up a video conference, post on social media, dedicate a song on the radio. If you have symptoms of fever, dry cough, and shortness of breath, call your healthcare provider before going to their office. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part, because we're all #alone together. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back, my loves. I had to go get some Kleenex. Oh, that was such a powerful story, and we're not even done because that was the beginning of your rise. That was your sign, Blaise. And so what happened? I'm sure we're all sitting on the edge of our seats here. What happened after you received your very in-your-face sign from God?
Well, I think that it's really important to say, like, when you really want to be hungry, stop dieting off your purpose, because we get these situations and setbacks and disappointments, and like you get pummeled by things in life, and then we fall back, and you've got to want it and hunger after it. Get yourself off the diet and really go after your purpose. It's only going to be up to you to hunger and thirst after it and hold the line on your destiny, because we each have one. And so I left that service injected with hope. Like, my circumstances hasn't changed, but I had a sign and I had a hope. But that doesn't mean you're not going to get more setbacks. Because often then we feel like, oh, great, I've arrived. This is good. It's all uphill from here. And it's just amazing things. And it's like, no, there's still going to be challenges. But you got to hold the line on your sign and your destiny and your purpose. And I held on to that hope, because after that, I still experienced 2 more miscarriages. And I was like, what the heck, God? Like, you gave me this beautiful sign, right? Like, how come I'm in a way worse trauma and tragedy than I was the first time? But I had to hang on. How bad do you want it? How bad are you going to hang on to it despite what's all happening around you? Hang on. So I dug my feet in and I said, I'm never going to give up on my destiny. And so, amazing twist of events, because 9 months later, after that first initial encounter, I've had a second miscarriage. I'm grieving again. I'm wondering what the heck. And I'm on Facebook again. And I come across this post. And it says, learn how to write your book in 90 days. Apply now for a program. I'm like, okay, I'll click on it, because apparently I'm supposed to write a book, right? So I clicked on it. Yep, I clicked on it. I had this idea about my journey of self-hatred, about women should own their worth and be the hero for their children. I talk about infertility and miscarriage is such a taboo topic, and bring it up to the surface and release that shame that people are going through. And I hit submit. And I got accepted into this program. And guess who runs this mentorship program? It's the daughter of the healing minister.
Oh, no way.
Yes. Under a different name, no connection, don't know her name. And it's her daughter. So the granddaughter of the original ministers I had an impact with 30 years ago published my book.
Oh my gosh, you can't.
It was
make that
supposed
shit
to
up.
happen.
That
You can't make that up,
amazing
right?
Synchronicities. Oh,
but the
my
point
goodness.
the point is, everybody has a purpose and a destiny, but you got to hold the line on it, and you've got to want it more than you do that you want to breathe. That's how bad you got to hang on to it, because there will be challenges to take you away. And Benjamin Franklin said it best: most people die at 25 and don't get buried until 75. It's because we give up on that destiny and go back into mediocrity, go back to safety and comfort zones. Because once we push outside our comfort zone, it ain't pretty. Like, I'm not telling everyone once you get that sign, it's all up, like it's all amazing and rainbows. It's a challenge, and you got to fight for it, but it's worth the fight.
Yes,
right?
and I shared some of those in my podcast episode, Behind the Scenes Stories. Absolutely. It's not a pretty journey sometimes. You know, it's not always ease and flow, especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I want to highlight something you shared, love, which was, this one just totally resonated with me, because I want to highlight it because I know that this is such an important thing, and I love your analogy around dieting. Stop dieting off your purpose.
Yep.
Stop dieting off your purpose, and stop living in mediocrity. Yes. So let's how do you share and help guide other women to move out of this diet and move out of mediocrity into embodying their purpose?
Well, I think, like you said, like stop the dieting, right? Because die is in the word diet. You're literally starving yourself, whether it's starving nutrients, starving yourself of fulfilling your destinies, starving yourself from living life. And I think there's a direct correlation with dieting on your food and dieting in your passion and your purpose for life. Because have you ever noticed the entire world is on a diet of some sort, right?
Yep.
Like some sort of diet. And the entire world is really struggling to know their purpose and what their passions are and what their destiny is. So we just get comfortable with this diet point plan and just enough. No, like release it. Get hungry. I'm so hungry, and you know what? There is a direct correlation with that because I'm a girl, I'm Ukrainian. I love food. I crave food all day long. I love food. I love the taste, the textures, the colors. I don't think about calories with food. I think about nourishment. I think about feeling the food and how it's amazing and tastes. But you know what? I have passion for life. So stop dieting for your life and start indulging and feel how it fuels you. And so I'm really encouraging women to look at food another way, because we always hear like, oh, I just look at a donut and I gain 5 pounds. We've given power over to the concept of food.
Yes.
Like explore your relationship with food and understand that food in particular is not toxic. It's what we're doing with it. It's our attitude. It's like overindulgence. But just like having a piece of chocolate cake doesn't make you gain 5 pounds or make you fat. It's what your attitude is around it. So I'm really trying younger girls, you know, moms, grandparents, like really challenge yourself to think about food in another way and come at it from a different perspective. And come at life with more zest and zeal, and don't be dead at 25. You've still got purpose. And, you know, senior citizens, I don't care if you're 25 or 75, you have a direct purpose still in your life and something to accomplish and something so amazing that no one else has. So hold the line on it. And part of that is sharing your story, because why should everything you've been through, all the experiences, all the knowledge, all the expertise go away with you when you leave this world? The only thing left as a legacy is your words. Put those words down on paper and let it be a teaching tool. Let it be something for your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren to know you. Like, we don't know our ancestors. We don't know much about them other than what's left as a trail of paper. Like, put it down and let people know and leave a lasting input. That is your footprint and your legacy for life.
Yes, absolutely. You know, oftentimes when I'm at parties or networking events, I want to get to know the person. And really in business, I'm all about be, do, have. So it's interesting when I'm in social situations, as I'm getting to know somebody and I'm like highlighting like, holy moly, that's incredible you went through that. And it sometimes the response is like, oh, it's not a big deal, or oh, like I never thought about it as a big deal, or that's, you know, important. And I'm like, oh my God, yes, this is truly important. This is part of your life story. And you know, when we're staying in the present moment, listening to others' stories, we really feel their journey and feel what they have gone through. And so oftentimes I feel like they themselves haven't felt that. They themselves have minimized how big and powerful their story actually is. Mm-hmm. And so what I'm hearing from you, Blaise, is to take that magnifying glass to your own stories, my loves, and really examine from an objective observer perspective your lifeline and the experiences that you have gone through and the lessons from those experiences, because whether you have children or not, your legacy matters to the collective, that you have so much wisdom in your unique soul essence to share.
Yes. And the healing component of it, because yes, it's something to leave as a legacy. But like when I started writing after that twist of events of getting into that program, I didn't realize the deeper layer of healing from writing out my thoughts, writing out the traumas and tragedies that I never dare spoke a word to anyone else, just in my head. And physically writing it, it's magical how it releases, because often we suppress. Often we don't even realize we have these memories or have these stories in our hearts until we start writing it out, and you're like, geesh, I'm crying. I thought I dealt with that, and I'm bawling here as I write these words. And that's healing. That's a deeper healing that no one else can do. It's so powerful. And whether it's going to be published or not, it's still the act of letting it out and writing it out, and letting those words go and releasing the pain is incredible and so instrumental in your healing journey. So whatever you've been through, even just physically writing it out will be such a catalyst in your ultimate healing journey.
Absolutely. And Blaise, how would you describe this as different than journaling per se? Or are they the same to you? Like, tell me a little bit more about that.
I think with writing it with a purpose, because journaling often is just like, yes, letting it out. But when you want to create a book out of it, or a manuscript, or something with a beginning, a middle, and an end, journaling doesn't have that, right? That journaling is just ongoing. But if you want to put it into a story, well, a story has 3 components, a beginning, a middle, and an end. So if you want to put those things into a story, that's where I help people. I help people map that out, because it is daunting. It's like, how do I write it out? You start like, once upon a time when I was 2, and then you could go forever. The story never ends because your life is still there, right? So it's like, so if you want to transition it just from journaling and actually create it as a story, then we need to have a complete thought process rather than just a never end, right?
Amazing. So let's segue into, where do we start? How do we start to write our story? Like, we have so many stories. Where do you recommend we start?
Yeah, I think that was so amazing that I got into that mentorship program, because it was such an amazing teaching tool how to write your story. And I loved writing. I used to be a radio journalist, a reporter, a PR person, and then you think, I'm really good with words, I have no problem. But once you sit down in front of that blank screen, you're like, where do I begin? How do I go from 0 words to 45,000 words, right? Like, and so
it's your own story. So when you're so close to your own stuff and your own, it's just so hard to see the trees from forest sometimes, right?
Totally. And then I think people feel overwhelmed and feel lost. And that's where I come in, because what do we normally do when we get lost? We Google Maps that shit, right?
Yeah. We'll Google it.
Right? We go to the map. We don't dare go anywhere these days without our smartphones and typing in the destination and knowing exactly where we're going, and know how many minutes it takes to get there, what time we'll arrive, and we have a clear route mapped out. So I take the concept of the Google Maps and incorporate it into writing your book. And I've created this really easy outline and map to follow, so you can have the tools to build a solid foundation of an outline, and more thought and attention to the outline itself. Because most people are like, yeah, that's my story. I don't need an outline. I'm just going to start. And it's like, no, I promise you, the more that you can put intention and work and energy into the outline, you should know exactly how it's ending before you even begin in one word. It's just like building a house, like a blueprint. You would never start building your dream home with just winging it. Right? Like, you have everything. Yeah. You have the end goal in mind. You know exactly how it's going to end before you, build the foundation and lay the concrete. You have everything mapped out. So if you're just starting to write with no destination in mind, it becomes that story that never ends, and there's really no point to the story other than a journal, right?
Yes. So
that's
would
the
you
difference.
be willing to share an overview? Obviously, you won't be able to dive in deep. That's why people would need to work with you. But to share just, for those of people who are listening and they're like really leaning in, going, yeah, okay, I would love to have the overview of this, and where do I start? What would the first part of that map be?
Yeah, the first part of the map is really understanding the core of your story, because I think we have so much to our story, we don't understand what the actual core is. So it's really creating this map of like plotting your coordinates, and I help you do that. Like we pull from that. Who are you writing to? Where are we in the world? What's happening? Are we going to be okay? Who's your target audience? Because that will decipher your language and who you're speaking to. Because so many people are like, oh, I want my book to be universal. It's valuable to everybody. And that could be true, but that's not how we write. So you really hone in on like a 20 age structure of like women. Mine is women ages 20 to 45. Yes, they empower so many beyond that, and men, but that's my core. That's who I'm speaking to. And then we break it down, because yes, it's daunting to be like 0 words, 45,000 words. How do I get there? Well, I break it down for you at 1,000 words a day. But then we break that down into 4 or 5 categories of 250 words each thought. So then you're like, oh, I can write 250 words. That's 2 paragraphs. That's not a big challenge. So I really simplify this whole process in the map, and I break it down. And then I also help people with the 5 biggest writing mistakes. Do you want me to share that with you?
Yeah, we're going to go into commercial, and when we come back, that is absolutely where I'd love for us to start. So
Perfect.
Hang tight, my loves. Thank you, Blaise.
Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
OMTimes magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Connect at omtimes.com. OMTimes, creating a more conscious lifestyle.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
Melissa from Michigan. I work an extra part-time job serving lunch at my child's school, but I still can't afford to put food on our table.
Daniel from California. Choosing whether to pay the rent or pay to fix the car to get to work doesn't leave us with much at all. Now we can't even pay for meals.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Welcome back, my loves. So, Blaise, we're going to head right into the 5 writing mistakes.
Yes. So it's really important to know what to do and what not to do. Both are so vital in your writing journey. And what to do is write to your reader. You've got to guide people, describe it, tease it, reveal it, tie it together, but also be objective, because once we start telling our own stories, I believe that we get too descriptive. So you need to be objective. Is it necessary? Is it relevant? Is it important? Is it helpful? If not, leave it out. Less is more. Think of a short mini skirt. You want it short enough to tease, but not too short to be too revealing, right? And a really, it's a good metaphor. My mentor told me that. I love it. It sticks with me forever, right? You want it to be teasing.
That's fun.
Yeah. And really, I'm going to give away one of my huge things here is statistically the ideal max for a non-fiction book is 176 pages. That's the magic number. So just keeping that in mind, that's around 45,000 words. And if you break it down, like I said, if you can do 1,000 words per day, and you can do that for about 4 or 5 days a week, you can literally write your book in 3 months. I did it. I went from 0 words to 58,000 words in 90 days.
Wow. I love how we break this down into math.
Yes.
that makes it totally doable.
It does. And so part of that then is getting away from the mistakes. And so we'll go through that quickly here. The first number one mistake, no structure, no map. You need a blueprint. How are you going to know to end and conclude your story if you don't have the route mapped out, if you don't Google Maps it? Put the coordinates in, do the work first. This is like a 2 to 3 week process that you map your book out first before you write one word. Before you write one word like how this begins, you're planning out the structure of your entire book. So people that end up writing a book for 3 years is like because they don't have the structure. They don't have the map. So that's a big mistake. So that's how I help people bring that in and make it doable, make it feasible that I can take these 250 words, these paragraphs at a time, and structure my book to actually complete it. I don't want it to be a dream. I want to make my dream a reality. So don't get lost in the years of rerouting, recalculating route. Get to your destination. Your destination has arrived. That's what you want to hear. Number 2, lack of discipline. Because it's still up to you. You can have the greatest map. You have everything plotted out. But you have to sit there and dedicate 2 hours a day. Or if it doesn't have to be 90 days. But write. Sit there and physically write. And get the words on the computer. So lack of discipline, you've really got to be accountable for what you want to do. Number 3, people edit as they go. This is really big because we start writing, we're like, no, that doesn't sound right. No, I don't know if that's the right way to say it or if the right place, I don't know. And you do backspace, rewrite, and you spend an hour on 2 sentences. And people get caught up in the sentence structure and, it just doesn't flow right. And then they never proceed to the next part of the map. We can't do that. Just write. Don't look back. It is going to look raw, real, messy, all over the place. There's going to be words missing. It doesn't matter. Write it. Go. Don't look back. When you're done, that's when you go back and do your self-edits. But
that's
just
so much freedom right there, because how many perfectionists in us get into the, that didn't sound good, and then we get all heady about it rather than be in the creative flow. So thank you for giving us permission to just write and flow and forget about perfectionism, forget about editing, forgetting about how it should quote unquote sound.
Exactly. Do not edit. Just go for it. I know that's hard. I'm a perfectionist too. I'm a recovering perfectionist.
Me too.
But I go and I don't look back, and that's what editing is for. This is not the editing process. This is the writing process. Let it come out of you, right? Number 4, this is a big one. People don't protect their dream of the book. There are dream crushers out there in your circle. People don't always celebrate or support your dreams for various reasons. So you've got to strategically pick who you tell that you're going to write a book and keep it to that circle. Don't be posting it on social media. Don't be sharing it with everybody and their kids. You got to protect that. This is owning your destiny, and you've got to protect that dream. But then there's a part B to protecting the dream. because another reason not to share it too freely is because our brains actually can't decipher between fantasy and reality. So, for example, when you get excited about you hear this podcast today and you're like, I'm going to go out and write my book. And you start telling everybody and you're telling yourself and you're telling your family and, oh, I'm so excited. It actually creates those positive emotions in your body. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm writing a book. I'm doing this. I'm getting my pencils ready. I'm getting my map ready. Oh yeah. And it's like you're getting the payoff without actually ever writing a word. So you're getting the feel-good accomplishment of the dream without actually accomplishing the dream. And people get caught up in that. I'm going to talk about this so much that you just talk about it for years and you've never actually fulfilled the dream. So there's two parts to that of protecting the dream of your book and your story. It's really vital.
I want to, that's so interesting, Blaise. Thank you for sharing that, because there is that fine balance between embodying the dream as if it's already here, and then actually taking action to manifest that into reality, right? And I love how you shared that the imbalance is when we stay in the feeling but don't ever do anything about it.
Right.
So it's like
it's an incredible dance.
One day, I'll get this done, but it never actually comes into fruition. So thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah, no worries. I think that's really helpful for people, is just like, how do I protect my dream? And how do I share it with the right people who will support me and champion me, but not deter me? And then also, how do I say it just enough to manifest my dream, but also challenge myself to take action? So that's really important in the writing process. And then number 5 is really big. We hire the wrong editor. Your editor can be your best friend or your biggest foe. And it's super important to interview your editor. It's not just one that it's not someone that's just supplied to you. Interview them. Do they match your personality, your thought process, the writing style? I had to fire an editor. They changed one of my quotes and made it into a reference for Harry Potter. No problem with Harry Potter, but I'm not from that area. I never read the Harry Potter. I would never say that. And so then the editor is taking it in a different way that's not going to be as authentic, because it's not you. So you need to have the editor that is basically becoming you in the process. So they need to understand where you're going with that, right? Where your intentions are, how you speak. Not edit the stuff that they don't think is necessary. It's like, no, that's how I speak. People will know that's me. So really do your due diligence on investigating and hiring an editor and interviewing them and really pulling that they can really embody your work, right?
Wow, that's really important. Yeah, I could see this is why it's so critical to have an editor. I liked how you frame it. That is essentially becoming you as they're editing your book, and their stuff is, and their own personal biases are out, and it is literally them seeing and feeling into your vision and supporting it wholeheartedly with their expertise in editing.
Exactly. And so if you don't do those 5 things, you're already steps ahead about most people writing a book.
Okay, and I'm sure diving in deeper to work with you walk people through the line of questioning to find the right editor, understanding that balance between feeling good and having the accountability and the discipline to move forward.
I'm your automated Google Maps voice, reroute, recalculating route. Come on, you need to do this, right? I'm that voice.
Oh my gosh. And don't you guys love Blaise's voice? Yeah, absolutely. We could listen to Blaise forever. At least I could. I love her voice. And she also has a podcast. So be sure. What is your podcast? Can you let people know the name of it? And
yeah, it's Blaise the Trail, just like my business. Blaise the Trail podcast. It's on Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Stitcher, TuneIn, also on the Business Innovators Radio Network. But it's also, you can get all the links and YouTube on my website, blaisehunter.com. There is a tab there for podcasts. You'll be able to get all the links. And if you don't even have Apple Podcasts, you can get it anywhere else for free as well. So, and it really is about sharing vulnerable and authentic stories, peeling back the curtains. I don't just promote people's livelihoods and their businesses. I want to know how you got there, because everyone's had a struggle. Everyone has had to dig in and get the resiliency and the grit and hold the line on their destiny and their purpose. And that's where I'm pulling from. And you'll be inspired to be the hero of your life and also breathe fire on this world together with me.
Beautiful. So all of Blaise's information will be in my show notes on OMTimes Radio and Apple Podcasts as well. So this is a beautiful segue into our guided meditation to support you in embodying the hero of your own journey, of holding the line, of believing in yourself. So I'm going to invite you, my loves, to really just start to take yourself inward, find a comfortable place to settle in. And if it feels right for you, I invite you to have a soft gaze or close your eyes and just tap into the sensations of your body in this moment as you have been listening and receiving this beautiful conversation, noticing what's arising, what's resonating, what's really standing out for you in this moment. What's being highlighted? So as you are staying with what's resonating with you, feel into the sensations in your body. Feeling into where there's warmth, where there's hope being sparks. Feel into your own power, the possibility. If you haven't felt into your own power, and this is kind of like the first time, or it's been a while since you've visited it, feel into the possibilities of stepping into your power and breathing that in. Feeling into this spark that's being ignited, feeling into the excitement and the possibilities of writing your own story, your book, and imagining it coming to life. And as this book is here, coming into your hands, into the hands of others, it's its own powerful entity that is your unique soul essence, your legacy, your trail that you're leaving, your footprints on this planet, and imagining it reaching out and getting into the hands of the souls that need to hear your story, because they too are suffering right now in the way that you have. And they need to know that there's hope. Your story matters to these souls. So feel into the fire, feel into the possibilities. Feel into your heart space in this moment. And I'm going to activate this with a light language transmission. Pura kia parakarati kua rekaratua puratia purakaratia puratia parakaratua. Your purpose matters. Koratia parakaratua kia parakarati kia parakaratia. Your story matters. Koratia purakaratia kia kia karatua kia karatua. Calling in clarity for you. Kuratia, kira, karaturatia. Using the sword of discernment to cut through the noise, so you can really land in your clarity of your soul purpose mission, of the story that you need to share in this world. Koratia, porakaratutia, porakuratia, kuratia, poratia. Be receiving ideas, downloads, porakaratua. Feel into the downloads, hanging out with your experience. Seeing the visions, feeling the sensations, receiving clarity. Breathing in this clarity and breathing out anything that doesn't resonate. Breathing in love, breathing out love. And so I invite you to just take that pen to your paper and write. Thank you so much, Blaise, for being here today. Do you have any last words for our show today for the audience?
We all have a destiny. Let's birth it together. We are mothers of purpose.
Beautiful. Thank you, my love, for being here. And if you feel called, please do connect with Blaise. May you birth your story into the world. Love you guys. Thank you for being here. Mwah.